talented, so creative, brilliant. I mean, just really provocative as well. But how successful was he at monetizing that?
Well, that's the thing. He was extremely unique and avant-garde. Those are the words that continue to be described, that are used to describe him. The reality, though, was his brand, while it was popular by some celebrities' standards, from the mass market perspective, it really wasn't making much money. It was bought by, the Alexander McQueen brand was bought by Gucci Group in 2000. They own a 51% stake in the brand, but it only started making money some 7 years later, at the end of, I think, the end of the fiscal 2007 year. It started to then turn a profit. So it wasn't really a profitable brand to say. It wasn't one that really made a lot of money.
I think that a lot of people will support that kind of talent, even if it's not a big moneymaker, because fashion needs that sort of visionary, a trendsetter out there. But now that he's gone, what will happen to his brand?
Yeah, that's the big question, Maggie, and I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing. And in fact, it's time now for Gucci Group to really get their heads down and start to figure out what happens to this key brand, especially when it comes to shareholders asking that same question. The reality is it is not easy to replace a man like Alexander McQueen, not simply because of the fact that he was a genius and that he had such unique ideas and style and taste and message for his brand, but also the fact that his brand in itself wasn't that new. And that's one of the things, one of the luxury brand analysts we spoke to was saying that in order for a brand to really move beyond the creative head and the namesake and the founder of this brand, it needs to have been established for a while in order to have that iconic image. Alexander McQueen's brand has not been established for that long, so it would be very difficult for someone new to come in and say, okay, they're going to take over and carry on that same message. Maggie.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of moot in a way. I mean, you know, because there are some very interesting examples like Coco Chanel. Obviously, Chanel is still a huge, huge brand. Gianni Versace, you know, ripped away from us. Again, that continues, but I mean, Donatella and so on, I mean, they're still doing a hugely important job. So it is difficult to see how it's going to go forward without that incredibly creative mind behind it, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you touched upon it perfectly in the sense that Chanel, it was an already established iconic brand, and they were saying that it's an art, it's not a science.
Yeah, Coco Chanel, one has to remind themselves, had a very long life.
Exactly,
actually.
And so when Karl Lagerfeld took over, he already had that image, that template, if you will, and Versace, Donatella, took over that template, and she was the one that was pretty much trained by Gianni. And then when it comes to Yves Saint Laurent, Tom Ford then took over and then moved the brand forward. But you already had that icon, that template for this specific brand. It's very difficult now with Alexander McQueen. Who's going to do that?
Monita Rajpal, luxury personified, as I like to say. Many thanks to you.
Indeed. And, you know, it's Fashion Week here in New York, and it's certainly what everyone is talking about and mourning the loss of.